All right, good morning, everybody. This is Randall for Floribama Homesteader here. It's been about a month since we've done our last garden update, and I want to bring all of our viewers up to speed on what's going on with the garden. About a month ago, these green beans that we talked about on the trellis were just getting started. Now, if you see, they're already about 7 foot tall here. They're going up this panel, and like I said in my previous video, this panel is a 12-foot panel that just arches over from the ground up to the top of our 7-foot fence. Now, if you look, all the green beans are starting to bloom. And right around the blooms, you'll see that there's little green beans starting to form. And if you notice, just like we planned, the green beans are starting to hang down through the fence for easy picking. I did notice the other day that right where the panel started to bend, there was no flowers below that. So we're not going to have to dig low to get to our green beans. They should start about waist high and then hang down over our heads so that we walk right by here and pick all of our green beans. But these are doing good. We got lots of blooms. We're going to see how many we get off of these 2 cattle panels this year. Last year, off of 30 seed that we planted, we got 45 quarts of green beans put in the freezer. This year we're going to be freezing these. We're not going to be freezing these green beans. We're going to be putting them in the pressure canner, and we're going to be canning these green beans. Now over here we have little melons. I can't remember the name of the melons that I planted. They were little small ones, about 1 pound a piece. And then right next to that we have some cucumbers. And if you look, we got cucumbers that are starting to grow. They're down in there. So the cucumbers are starting to hang away from the cattle panel, and they're looking good. And then we got another panel of green beans over here. And see the green beans starting to hang down. And they hang down away from the fence so that we should be able to walk right by here and pick these without having to dig for them in the leaves. So these seem to be turning out as planned. And in about another couple of weeks, we're going to be full swing into canning green beans. So we'll give you an update to see how the cattle panel actually did turn out when we're going to harvest these things. But right now, they're doing wonderful. These green beans are looking good. Now, I'm going to take you over here to the garden, and just going to give you a little quick rundown. Try to keep it relatively short so I don't bore you to death. But today is the Sunday before Memorial Day, and it's supposed to be about 101 today. One of the things that I did this year is I incorporated an automatic watering system. You see it right there. There's a timer. There's 4 pipes. So I have my garden set up to water in 4 different zones. First zone being this perimeter bed that goes all the way around to halfway of the garden right over at that fence post. And waters all those tomatoes that are along that fence. Zone 2 is this raised bed, and those 4 raised beds right there. And then zone 3 will be this raised bed, and then those 4 raised beds. And then zone 4 will be this perimeter bed that goes all the way around, watering those tomatoes all the way back to the center post over there where zone 1 ends. So that's how we have our irrigation set up. Now our squash is done. I pulled all these out yesterday. I have one more squash that hasn't quite finished up and died on me yet. So we're going to give these a few more days and see how these turned out. I don't know exactly what we're going to plant in each one of these beds yet. But this one, we came in, we planted our okra. So that's starting to come up. And we're going to probably end up planting about 2 beds of sweet potatoes. We had a pretty good turnout with our sweet potatoes last year. Had to fight the field rats to keep them out of here, but they did pretty well. So we're going to try another 2 beds of sweet potatoes this year. If you notice, my broccoli and my cabbage, they're in the freezer. We're done with that. Atomic grape tomato, I planted that from seed, so that's looking good. Some cherry tomatoes that my neighbors gave us, some tomatillas, and then most all of those tomatoes along that fence over there, those are all paste tomatoes that I started from seed. And I'm really surprised at how well they're doing. We're getting some good sized tomatoes coming on these plants over here. And I think this keeps up, we're going to have a pretty good harvest of paste tomatoes. Nice size. My plants are about 7 foot tall. See there at the top of the 7-foot fence. These things are really looking good. I think we're going to do well with our paste tomatoes this year. What we're going to do is we're going to can these into cans to use in all of our recipes. But look at the size of that paste tomato right there. That thing is huge. For a paste tomato, it fills up my hand. So paste tomatoes are looking good. We did an onion video where we were harvesting our onions. We harvested out all of our purple onions. Maybe today we can get to the Vidalias. The Vidalias are hanging in there. They haven't started going bad on me, but they are at their full potential. They're ready to come out. They're going in the freezer. A little update, when we harvested our purple onions just on this side of the bed, we ended up with 4.5 gallons of diced onions that are in the freezer. That right there is enough onions that would get us through 6 months. So I'm thinking with all these onions combined, we should be good for at least a year. Now if I'm moving over here, I had an acorn squash that was down in here, and I had a buttercup squash. Something happened to my buttercup squash. I don't know what it is. I haven't examined the vine. But something happened right down in here. And I think it's just rot. I didn't see any evidence of any vine borer down in there. But I harvested the couple of squash that were on it. And I think the rest of these squash are about done. They're about ready to be picked. Looking good. Some good sized squash hanging there. And I've never eaten these, so we need to get some in the oven to see how they taste. Now this is a bell pepper. Bell pepper has done wonderful. I've picked some bell peppers off of this the other day. Great, see if I can get the camera in there to show you. But it has some good sized bell peppers. So that's looking good. And then another little pepper right there. And then along this fence line over here, these tomatoes are looking good. I got a mix. This end is Big Boy, and that end down there is Early Girl. And for about a week and a half, I've been harvesting Early Girl tomatoes off of this one plant right here. And we've already picked probably about 10 tomatoes, and I have a few more in there that are ready to be picked. But those are looking good. I did notice I got some armyworm damage. So today I'm going to be coming in here with my pyrethrin dust, which is organic, and I'm going to be sprinkling the dust on these to get those armyworms under control. Looks like blight is starting to hit. So it won't be long before we harvest our biggest tomatoes out of here. And then we'll be putting all those up. And I suspect with the 100-degree heat that we're experiencing, and these tomatoes are going to be finishing up real quick. These tomatoes don't like any heat really above 85. They start dying off if they get too hot. So they're probably at their peak right now as far as growing, and they're going to start concentrating on maturing those tomatoes out. Garlic is ready to harvest. I'm not sure how I'm going to preserve that garlic yet, so we're going to leave that in the ground probably another day or two to figure out what we're going to do with harvesting our garlic. We got some there, and then we got some garlic right over here. So our garlic seems to be turning out well. Now here's a pepper plant that I overwintered. This is a Marconi, and that's got some good sized peppers already on it, and it won't be long that those are ready to harvest. But that plant was from last year's garden. We put it in a pot and put it in the garage through the harsh part of the winter and set it out when the days were mild. Put it back in the ground this spring. Seems to be going just fine. So we're going to see what kind of peppers that plant gives us this year. Now artichoke. Remember last year I planted some artichoke. So here's an update on the artichoke. I'm letting this one bloom, but look at the size of that bloom. It's huge. It's beautiful. Let me get on this side here out of the way of the light. But yeah, can't wait to see what that thing looks like whenever it's fully open. It's going to be beautiful. But I got lots of little artichokes all over it. And when we're ready to eat artichoke, it's got artichokes on it. So we are going to try these artichokes a couple of different ways and see if we like them at all. So we'll keep you posted. And I've got a Table King acorn squash. 2 of those plants right down in there. Those are doing good. I took my strawberries out of my big bed over there, transplanted them over here behind this raised bed in this little bit of shade. So hopefully they'll survive through the hot summer heat with as much shade they get from this raised bed and the shade from that pecan tree. Went over my compost bin, pulled out my compost, starting to fill this back out. This compost bin has wood shavings in the bottom half of it, so about 1.5 feet of wood shavings whenever I put them in here, and probably about 1 foot of topsoil on top of that. We raised out our beets and our salad greens in here. They did wonderful this year. I think that the wood chips are starting to decompose down there, so we had to come back in here and start topping it up with compost, and we're going to probably put some more garden soil in here. But yeah, we get a lot of use out of this bed. We really enjoy it. So there's some lettuce down there on the end that is just about finished up over there. All right, another artichoke blossom. These are looking good. They were just starting to break bud yesterday. Well, they're going to open on up today. So the next day or two, I expect these things to be in full bloom. And then we have an eggplant, turmeric, and right here we have some ginger, another bell pepper. And the asparagus is popping along. We probably should have harvested some asparagus this year, but I think we're really just too busy to look hard in there to get any asparagus to harvest. But these things are looking good. Got some good sized stalks in there. If we'd have caught it in time, we probably would have had some asparagus. See, there's some shoots coming up right there. We could harvest those if we had enough, but I suspect we probably need 8 to 10 to be able to cook a bunch of that asparagus. All right, well, that's the garden update. Oh, one more thing, our carrot beds. We have our carrots that are finishing up over here. We've been making carrot souffle. Absolutely the best way I ever eat carrots my entire life. Love it. But these tops are dying off. The carrots are mature. They're in there. They're still sweet. They're not bitter. And carrot beds doing well. Has done well for us. All right. Thanks for watching.